All right. Hey, look, I know you might be watching the video, and therefore I want to say to you, this is Sporty King. And I always come on, we got like less than 5 minutes to go before I do today's message, but I always like to come on 3 to 5 minutes early to give people a chance to settle in. Because, just a tech tip, I always give my tech tip, and that is if you're doing a broadcast, you don't necessarily have to start. Ooh, I just realized I never even checked. Let me check my audio. Aha. Yeah, because I had it on some good, I'm good. Okay, because I had it on something else. Um, yeah, there it is. I had it on something else just last night, so I had to make sure I had it back in here. So anyway, but yeah, that's what I like to do is come on and this is my interactive day, and this is gonna be real interactive because you know me, I like to try new things with technology, and even if not brand new, just using technology in different ways. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing today. And so this is my chance to do my shout outs as people come on, but also and let me know where you tuning in from, because I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously through technology called StreamYard. So I go on and give them a shout out. It's no problem, even though they don't pay me. I pay them to use it, but I found it to be effective, and you can buy a plan. I think my plan I think it's $25, so I don't mind saying that as well. But I'm gonna go across three social mediums. So according to how many you want to use and how many different things you want to be able to schedule out in advance, their price goes up. So in case you're looking into something like that, there's a tip for you. We've got less than 4 minutes for today's broadcast, so you still go. What's up, my brother Bruce, coming in from Chicago? Bruce, I was thinking about you actually last couple of days. I know you said you had like 37 pairs of glasses or whatever. Are they all prescription? Because I was thinking, I was actually thinking about that, because when I got my new glasses, I said, yeah, Bruce said he got all those glasses. And and you coordinate them so well with your different outfits. You make me also think about Boomerang. Remember where the guy says, I got to coordinate, got the mushroom vest. Okay. But yeah, are they all prescription, Bruce? So or if that's a secret, I don't know. But anyway, it's good to see you, my brother. We got less than 3 minutes to go for today's message, and finding different ways to share. Oh, gotcha. Only five of, and I guess that's the other reason I was asked, because I had said to myself, well, you know what, I might go in, and because I like how you really connect them. But so they aren't reading glasses either, right? They're just are they those ones? Are they reading glasses? Or are they just lenses with glass in them? How does that? Where do I buy those types of things? Do you just um, I probably have seen them, but I got to figure that out. But we got less than 2 minutes to go for today's message. In case you're, again, watching the video, this is what I do. I have my little live conversations as people come on, and because I don't have any rules about how I'm going to handle my broadcast. I got my little notes written down and what I'm going to say, but I'm going to be really talking to people on today's broadcast as well while it's going on, and I'll reiterate that as people come on. But I'm going to be actually showing a video from a former um, Glue Wednesday broadcast, and I'll be able to talk about it while we're going. And you know what's so cool about it? Okay, good. You're gonna send me via text. Thanks, Bruce. Because I definitely want to know that. See, yeah, anything you say, unless you curse me out, I click on it and let everybody see it. Why? Because if a comment on Facebook would not show up on LinkedIn or on YouTube, so that's why I click on them. And this is my interactive day, and we've got less than a minute to go for that. So that's one of the things that I do. And I appreciate anybody who comes on again. Even if you're watching the video, you can put your comments in, and that I try to get back to you as well. So it's all about just chilling out and living life. And yeah, that's just making me introspective again. Even though it goes with, again, like I said, we can't make this stuff up. It goes with today's message. When you really look at your life, so many things, if you slow down, you'll see how many things actually really connect to the last thing that you did. And then that has a domino effect of how it collected to thus and thus and thus, which is really kind of what the Bible is all about. And it shows you how all of these things backtrack and go to connect to where you are today. And that's where your faith has to become stronger, because you look back at where it came from. And so right now it came from 1 o'clock, and it's time to get moving with our today's message. So I definitely say to you, goodness. And I say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening, but I always like to say, isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? So welcome to Glue Wednesday. And I call it Glue Wednesday because so often we hear people say Wednesday is hump day. And I always say that, well, that's old school rules, because, old school, we used to say you either work Monday to Friday or the weekend. We didn't have the term flex time, even though we had plenty of people working flex time, public transportation, hospitality industry in terms of hotels and restaurants. So there's always been somebody who didn't work Monday to Friday or just the weekend, somebody that worked Wednesday to Monday, Wednesday to Sunday, etc. So what I did is I decided to put another little positive twist. Instead of calling it hump day, which to me has the connotation of humping, needing to get over, I said, well, Wednesday is the middle of a traditional 7-day week, regardless of when you work. So therefore, Wednesday is the day that brings the weekend and the weekend and the week beginning together. And so it's the glue, and it puts me in one of my favorite poses, and that's a prayerful pose. And so I say Wednesday is the glue, and that's why I call it Glue Wednesday. And I decided to make it God's love undoes everything. Not that God's love will take things apart, but what has been taken apart, God's love will pull it back together. And that's what the glue has to be about. And it's finding the things that you thought were taken away from your life. And there's what I was talking about, that domino effect. When you say, oh, I just lost this. But then as you go through life and you learn, you say, oh, I needed to lose that to gain this. And in some ways, I needed to make room for a new blessing. It's all about how you want to look at it. So that becomes the key. All right, that's what Glue Wednesday is all about. So today, I'm going to be actually using a glue message from my third glue broadcast. I started doing Glue Wednesday back in 2017. So this was actually the third broadcast that I did of a Glue Wednesday. And so I'm going to be showing that tape, and then I'll be interacting and talking along the way and putting some the little posts up there that I learned. And it was so cool. And this is again, beauty of technology. When I went back to that message, and because I think you should always be introspective. And so I self-check. I want to see what's the consistency of my message. That makes a difference. That will tell you a lot about the relationships in your life, because the common denominator of every relationship in your life is you. So you may think about this person, that person, this job, that job, but the common denominator is you. So constantly keep ways to check on yourself. And again, that's going to end up coming in today's message. I just love how it just flows. And that was the joy that I had in looking at the message and realizing, wow, I'm still doing a good job of bringing that message forward. But here's what I did to add a little bit to it today. And that is, I've added my guiding scripture, which is Numbers. Oops, and that says number. I'm going to correct that, because I can't do typos. Where'd it go? There we go. Put that S on Numbers. Okay. I don't like people misquoting the scriptures. Okay. So it's Numbers 14:4. And it says, so they said to one another, let's appoint a leader and go back to Egypt. Remember that? That's what the Israelites said when they were in the desert. They said, let's appoint a leader and go back to Egypt, because they weren't patient or pleased with how long it was taking Moses to get them to where they're going. And before I get back to where I'm going with my broadcast, let me say hi to my sister coming in from Chicago, Daphne. I made it, and I'm grateful for being here. Amen. And I'm grateful for having you. Daphne, I don't think you were even a member that we were connected back in 2017. This is my broadcast from 2017. So I don't know that we were either connected, or even if you were watching Glue. But here's what we're going to be here. That's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go with recognizing that my message back in 2017, it was April 19th, 2017. And The message was called Baggage Claim. So I'll be playing that message while joining you in the chat for live conversations. And it was called Baggage Claim. So let's get rolling. I clicked it to start from where we can start talking about it. And oh yeah, and no as in, and that's also KNOW because we know that we weren't. So good. The NO always in there, always in there. So here's that message, and let's go. Let me get back to this because now I'm going to have to be seeing how I can do. Okay, boom. This session. I'm going to read it to you, but actually, I'm not just reading it to you whether or not you read it. I'm reading it to you because I want to show you how I use it. One of the things that I've been doing, most of you know that I write poetry, and I've been writing poetry since I was 14 years old. So that's over, I don't do math well, so I'm 61, so do the math. Oh, well, 14 and 16, anyway. So I've been writing poetry that long. And the thing is, when I first decided to publish my poetry, what I found is that a lot of times, especially when you're in English class and you're doing poetic interpretation, you've got one person is saying, well, I think the poet meant this, and another person is saying, I think the poet meant that. My belief is, why don't we allow somebody to get it right? See, one of the things that I base my life on is trying to catch people doing something right. We always focus on what somebody's doing wrong. Not enough do we focus on what someone's doing right. So how does that apply to my poetry? Well, what I did is when I started writing my books, I would write, I call it a storyline in poetry rather than just using my poetry. I call it a storyline in poetry because what I do is I write about why I wrote the poem. Sometimes I write that in front of the poem and sometimes I write it in back of the poem. But what it does is it allows a conversation to be had. And if we've got two opposing or different thought, interpretations of what the poem was about, it gives one of the people a chance to be right about what the poet was thinking, because that's what the author was thinking, because that's what they're saying. Oh, I think the author was saying this. I think they were saying that. Number one, it gives one of the people a chance to actually have been right and they got it, which does what? That encourages them to feel, to have a creative mindset and to feel free about taking a chance and a choice and voicing their opinion as to the way they think something was going or interpret it, because that's what life is about, is us interpreting our different experiences. And the person who didn't get it the first time, well, that doesn't make them wrong. That now gives them a lesson. Because now what they'll do is they've also shared another point of view that probably made a lot of sense as well. So now we've got two ways of looking at the same piece of literature. And actually we've got what? Three ways. Because we've got theirs, yours, the first person, the second person, and mine. All right? So, so that's what I do with my poetry. So here's the intro to the poem that I posted regarding this week's session. The poem is called Baggage Claim, but here's how I introduced that poem. The poem was preceded by a poem about relationships. And it says, what about that new relationship? What makes it so hard to go first? It's the experiences in our past relationships. Experiences that we choose to call pain rather than lessons. That's what my post said, pain plus lessons equal partnership. Experiences that we choose to call pain rather than lessons. I don't deny that lessons can be painful, but each person is brought into our lives to help us take a step. Not always a step forward, because sometimes we need to reevaluate the road we're on, and as I mentioned in the previous poem, these lessons have also been called baggage. And I say that's fine. However, I like to affectionately call them as such and realize that as we unselfishly allow one another to work through our baggage, we work toward a better relationship that has a base of empathy. Thus the poem Baggage Claim. Be sure to reread this poem, which is also why I posted it. Reread this poem replacing the word baggage with the word lessons. But so I'm going to read it to you with using the word lessons in place of the word baggage. So though it's called Baggage Claim, let's call it Lesson Claim. Actually, if you aren't carrying any lessons from your past, we may have much in common as we thought. For as surely as you have parents who had parents, who were born unto parents, who were sons and daughters of someone born into an imperfect world after being conceived by a woman who knew a man who had an opinion, your lessons can be picked up at carousel number 1. So again, a lot of times, we call it baggage, but there's a lot of lessons that we have when we move on into a new relationship. And what I've done is I've decided, instead of focusing on the word relationships, which tends to have a connotation about, toward marriage, or, male, female, 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 male, male, whatever, toward a love relationship. I prefer to use, I want to make our title deal with the word partnerships. Because the truth is, if you're in a romantic relationship that is not a partnership, then you're actually not in a romantic relationship. So it is about the partnerships that we include in our lives and we attract into our lives. And that's why I also say it's important that we look at this whole topic of lessons as being a part of life. And life, L-I-F-E, lessons intended for everyone. Lessons intended for everyone. Everything that's going to happen in your life is going to be a lesson, good or bad, but it's going to help you make a decision towards your next step. And so that's one of my acronyms. That's my main acronym for life. But I also have life standing for letting it flow easily. Letting it flow easily. See, life and partnership should have an easy flow. Not to say it's not going to be bumpy, that there's not going to be some bumpy spots, but an easy flow does include the bumps along the way. Because the key is, if we have the right partners with us, if we have the right partnership, we're going to take the bumps together. And that's what's going to make it easy, because isn't it easy to go through something when you know who you're going through it with and you have the right people on your side? That's how we get through so many things. So look back at your I always remind people, look back at your life and see who you've been traveling with, and see how many people have helped you get through situations. We don't get through on our own. So that's why we also need to bring in another broad topic of friendship. So we, relationship, partnership, friendships, they're all, to me, they're commingled. And they make the difference in how we're going to look at our baggage, which we're going to call lessons. So here's how we look at our lessons. And then it also brings up, my guy from UK just sent me a message saying he can't join in. But again, shout out to Val and Miller and my UK people. And shout in to, I see some new people, Jackie, homegirl, Kenneth, my Spurs fan. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Romeo, I'm glad you're here. Echo St. Julie. Oh, okay. Hey, good to see you. Long time. All right. So anyway, let's get back onto the case here. Okay. When we look at relationships, when we look at friendships, when we look at partnerships, the final tag I want to put on the message is that we're looking at messengers. We're looking at the messengers that we bring into our lives. See, life, it's about going, choosing the messengers that we got to follow. Everybody comes into your life. One of my favorite books was The Celestine Prophecy. And the Celestine Prophecy says that everybody comes into your life has a message for you. They come in there for a reason. And in the case, in the thirst for us looking for positive messages, sometimes we're looking for the positive message from somebody whose message for us is strictly, hi, you don't need to deal with me, keep moving. Okay, so it's important that we recognize why the messengers are stopping into our lives. And that's what helps us decide who we should keep and who we should let go by. Choose your messengers carefully, because your messengers become your partners. And so it's important that we look at the empathy in how we choose our messengers, our partners, our relationships, our friends. Look at the empathy. And I don't have an acronym for this one, for empathy, but one of the key elements in spelling out our compassion for one another is that we have to have empathy, because that leads to cohesive partnership. And by empathy, I'm talking about the fact that, I will never say to somebody, well, you know what, I know what you're going through. I've been in your shoes. No, I don't know what you're going through. I have not been in your shoes, but let me tell you this, I've been in your row. I have not been in your shoes, don't know what you're going through, but I've been in your row. We were all sitting in one another's row. We all have some type of challenge that was a big challenge for us that may seem like a small blip for somebody else. And so, we don't need to minimize or look to make our challenge stronger than someone or more meaningful than someone else's. It's just as simple as how when, little kids, when they hurt their finger, the level at which they cry and experience that pain might not be, it will not be the same level that we experience the same as an adult. And in fact, that's where we end up saying to kids, oh, that's going to be all right because we've been through that pain already. We don't know what they're going through, but we've sat through that pain, and we can say to them, that's going to be fine. Take that same analogy and recognize that the little kid who's crying about a splinter in their finger, we may think that's not a big deal as a grown-up to having our finger cut off, but guess what? The kid don't know about the finger being cut off. That splinter is a big deal. So recognize that, that we shouldn't want to minimize someone else's challenge based on how we can handle it. And parents, I love you to death. I will always support you because I think parenting is a tough calling. And, there's no rule book on how to be a parent. But, we got to think about the words that we use. When you say to a kid, you're big enough to be able to take that kind of a pain and take that type of a hit. Everybody matures at a different level. And I'm not saying that you have to erase that from your vocabulary. Just make sure that you balance. And instead of always telling them what they're old enough for, when it's negating, because that's what we're doing, we're negating their feelings. Make sure that you're also telling them how old they are and what they're old enough for when you're complimenting their feelings. When you're saying to them, it's good that you feel that because you're at the point in your age now where you should understand, and I'm glad to see you understanding. Again, see, you notice that switch there added? Don't always make it a you should. Don't always make it a command. How about letting them know, I'm glad, I'm proud of you. There's a lot of different ways we can say to a child, I'm proud of you. Likewise, we don't need to just be about kids. That's the same thing we can do with our staff members, with our employees. I just did what I know was a great thing because I had such great customer service when I went to a local Walmart. And the young lady there, she just says, every time I've gone, I've just loved her attitude. And to the point where I didn't mind waiting to be the next customer and it take as long as she needed on the previous customer. And I told her how much I really appreciated her consistency. She doesn't remember me because I'm just one of many customers that come in and out. And that's the same thing that you do, by the way, P.S. So how about complimenting the people in our fast food restaurants, the people in the grocery stores, in the mega stores, the Walmarts, the Targets, wherever you go, the grocery, give them a compliment because you see them working hard and they sometimes think it's unappreciated and sometimes they're just on automatic pilot because they think, I need to be doing this, and they don't know they're achieving it. When I told her that I remember her for her wonderful service, you should have seen the smile on her face. That young girl was so happy. And guess what that did? That made me so happy. There was the partnership. See? So again, there was a lesson that I had learned from my previous relationship, which means my life. See, I've got a relationship with my life. So you can also look at that. Recognize, the lessons that you've learned in your life. You've learned to say thank you because maybe someone never said thank you to you. I stopped it right there because I want to post Lorenzo's comment about an introspective person is someone who regularly looks inward to try to understand their mind, thoughts, feelings, and inner workings. Introspection is the examination of one's own conscious thought and feelings. Give grace from inside you. And I wanted to highlight that because I appreciate that because in a way, that was what I was just describing, what I did with this young lady and what we could still be doing. So, sometimes just think about what you're going through and how many times have we gotten upset at someone at a fast food restaurant or at a Walmart or whatever. And these kids are, there was that probably was not their life goal. They're doing it to get some money, to get through school, maybe to support their, contribute to their family support. It is hard. That's why it goes back to the empathy thing and why it's so important what Lorenzo just wrote. You've got to look inside you. You don't know what someone else is going through. So have a little bit more patience with those people at the fast food restaurants, and things like that. And have a little bit more grace with how you approach everyone and what they're doing in your life. It's just a matter of just taking that time, and we can all do it, but it just takes time. And in fact, it's what Daphne just wrote. Yeah, it makes a difference when we compliment others. See, and again, like I said, I love how this took me back to my 2017 broadcast, but see how it's still a prize? We make a difference when we compliment others, because that becomes a compliment to us. So let's continue with the broadcast. You've learned to say thank you because someone said thank you to you, okay? Share those lessons and make it work, all right? Now, when I first put this week's session together, I had entitled it as the how and why of less pain plus lessons equal partnership, the how and why. Then I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. I think it's more important that we put those in the opposite, so that I can give you some tools to use to deal with the how and why that we use in I'm mumbling because I'm excited. Okay, breathe. Okay, the how and why of pain plus lessons equal partnership. I think the best way to deal with it is to look at it in terms of the why and how. So let's first look at the why of how pain plus lessons equal partnerships. The why is that we have to recognize. I'm sorry, and P.S. This is how the pain plus lessons equal partnership, and how we choose our messengers and our partners carefully, recognizing that sometimes what we have to do is move on. So important when you're choosing your messengers and your partners, that you recognize, you know what, this partnership is not healthy for me and I need to move on. So I'm going to tell you why you need to move on, and I'm going to tell you how you can move on. The why is because we move on because friends, partners, and relationships have to grow in accordance with our individual and collective needs. See, we both have to know why we're in this partnership and relationship, and we both have to want it to grow to a certain level. And that's not saying that our growth has to be congruent, and every time we're growing at the same pace. Maybe sometimes somebody's taking 2 steps and the next person's taking 1. But if expectation that you have of one another, and you understand, well, you know what, based on your expertise, you should have jumped 2 spots, and now that'll help me jump 1. Well, based on the next step we take, my expertise is going to make me jump 2, and then help you jump 1. And now we're still moving in accordance to what we need to keep our partnership effective and impactful. We outgrow some, and some friends outgrow us. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Each person's path has different experiences that reshape their next step. And sometimes that step does not include who they've been walking with before. Sometimes it just means we take a break from one another. So that's what I'm saying, is you got to recognize that as you walk your path, because each one of us has an individual path, as you walk your path, the scenery changes. For instance, I'm in an experience right now. I'm living in Charlotte. So I don't know what's going on with my friends in New York, and my friends in Chicago, my friends in the UK, and my friends anywhere. Wherever you are, you're experiencing something today that's going to impact your next step. And so when that comes into play in your decision for the next step you make, guess what that's going to do? That's going to now make you either erase somebody that's already a part of the step that you thought you were going to take, or include somebody else. For instance, I see my sister just got on, and hey, Zach, I love you to death, and I'll use you as an example, because something that we just experienced. She's having our block reunion on June 24th. Now, I was going to the block reunion. I was going to New York to go to the reunion, to the party. Then I got a speaking engagement to talk to my Army family in South Carolina. Well, that changed what I was going to do on June 24th. Now I'm no longer going to New York. I'm going to South Carolina instead. See, and I use that example because a lot of times people think that we only have to use something negative to switch channels. We don't. And let me switch channels right here and say, I like Lorenzo's comment. Our journey can be just a slow walk, but it's still stepping forward. And then I had actually typed before I could see Daphne's, and that pace makes a difference. Yeah, your journey could be a slow walk, but it's pace and patience that makes the power. So it's the 3 P's: pace, patience, and power. And then Daphne said, I feel your excitement in expressing this truth. Thank you. Right. And this is, again, Daphne, I love it. This is back in 2017. And have I expressed any less patience here in 2024? No. That goes back to the introspection that Lorenzo talked about. You want to be able to have that same excitement. Once you lose that excitement, that changes your relationship with you. And remember, we're talking about the relationship you have with other people, partnerships. You have to have the relationship with yourself. So Lorenzo said, I pull myself back many times from going off on something or someone else. However, I will not pull myself back from honoring a sincere request for love, peace, understanding, and the word to God on anyone's behalf. Goes back to the introspection. Yeah, what are you pulling back on, ladies and gentlemen? You have to ask yourself, and the comment that Daphne made, do you still feel your excitement in expressing your truth? And I love how you put this truth, Daphne, because I did a post, I think a couple of weeks ago, about it's about your truth. Yeah, and that's what's important. It's your truth. You're seeing things. We talked about empathy earlier. You're seeing things through your eyes. So what's your truth? Because that's going to make a difference how you pace yourself through somebody else's truth, and making sure that you align with their lives and keep your partnerships going. So meanwhile, let's keep this broadcast going. So isn't this kind of cool and fun? The experiences in our life are not necessarily negative. The majority of our experiences are positive, and then we act upon them based on our needs. I need to go to my speaking engagement so that I can continue to live the lifestyle. I have to make money. But, that's where, and then we add the compassion to that. Because if I'm speaking to my military family or to any audience only to make money, guess what? I won't be speaking with them for very long. And that goes right with what you just said, Daphne, about the experience, the excitement you have to have with your truth. In the speaking business, any speaker who's doing it just for the money is not going to be successful. When I'm helping someone, when they want to talk about wanting to be in the speaking business, I want to ask them, where's your passion? We hear that term, but not that, I want to be a speaker. That's a passion, but that's not your passion. That may be your passion to make money. But, what do you want to do? I didn't know that I wanted to speak with the military audience. I did it. This was a part of my development in my speaking business, where God had led me on my path. And in fact, I was intimidated when I first got got allowed to be on the contract. I was a little intimidated because I said, well, goodness, I don't know anything about the military. And, what am I going to say to these military soldiers and airmen and seamen and Marines? And then once I went to my first event, I saw, wait a minute, they're not asking me to make them better service members. They're asking me to help them become better people. Because a lot of our military service members are in their 20s and 30s. And sometimes it's just like a developing person looking for some advice on a tip for their next step. And I said, wait a minute, I can do that. I can give them tips about being a better person, a better sibling, a better husband, a better parent, a better wife, a better coworker. I can do that. And that made me see a new path that God wanted to put me on. And that's why I just love my path that I've been working with my military family and bringing that to you as well on the civilian side. So it's always about what we can do and make that connection, because each person's path is different depending on their relationship. And so let's see what Lorenzo said here. He says, blessings knowledge, blessing and knowledge 101. Take time to be thankful for everything you have. And a lot of times, see, we say that, but we're not, but you do. You have to take time and appreciate where you are. You can always have more, but you could also have less. You could also lose the more that you already possess. Be thankful for what you have. Great way of looking at things. Very hard to live, and very few people live it. We say we have faith in God's patience, but this is exactly what God's patience is all about, is that you may think you have nothing compared to someone else, but you're spending your time comparing yourself, your blessing, to somebody else's gift and somebody else's blessing. You don't have the same gift and blessing. And so your patience has to be different. Be appreciative of where you are in life. And so, and speaking of where you are, Vic is checking in with us from New York. Checking in. Yeah, Doom is here. He calls himself Victor Von Doom so far. So that's it. Checking in and knowing where you are. Daphne says, yeah, this is different to expound on a commentary from the past. I think I feel new ideas being born. Yeah, when you think about what was said in the past, how do you build on it? Because you start, like they say, wisdom being in retrospect. Yeah, we can look back and say, yeah, man, I wasn't good at this, but wow, look at where I am now. It's this, I like to call it grown-up stuff, and that's PG-13. But it's grown-up stuff where we have to learn. Goes back to Lorenzo's comment about introspection, goes back to Daphne's comment, mine and Daphne's comment about how we weren't connected in 2017. Well, guess what? We're connected now. That's changed each of us, because how each one of us has impacted one another's lives has had a chance to grow. So all of these things come in, and that's why your path and your pace is so important. And like Vic says, you have to count your blessings. You know what? One time I did a post that said 2,703, 2,704. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just counting my blessings. How can I help you? And so, so that's the thing. You can't actually count that high. That's how many blessings you have. Just count one. Just keep saying one. That's how you count your blessings, because each blessing is so different and takes you in another direction. So I like that. Keep counting your blessings as one. And as Joyce says, blessings, amen. AMEN, a message everyone needs. You blessings is a singular word that's a plural situation. So keep counting those blessings. One. I love it. And Lorenzo says, live past what could have been. Look at what should be being present. Smile at possibilities now to anticipate God's future gifts. Because you can't live for tomorrow, but you can live, for today and in today. And that's going to make a difference on how much joy you get to share, because it's how much joy you experience. We can't give anybody anything that we don't experience. Let's get back to the message, because I think we're going to be closing it out soon. Because the people can see when you're just trying to make money off of them and you scamming them, and you don't have the compassion and desire to share that empathy and recognize that you've been sitting in the same row with them. So that's what, because the speaking business is based on repeat business and referrals. And what they will refer to you as is someone who has no feeling and no compassion for what they're dealing with, or even for what they want to consider. So you can't offer me an option if you don't have the feeling of what options are all about. And just that simple thing of, as I'm taking my walk, because this is a path that God chose for me to be in the speaking and entrepreneurial world. My sister didn't choose that. My family didn't choose that for me. I chose it. And by my choosing to be in this entrepreneurial world, that impacts the decisions that I make. Even when I decide to be an entrepreneur, one of the things that I get to do that you may not get to do is, since I was single and no family, any decisions I made didn't take money out of my kids' mouth, didn't take money out of my wife's mouth. See, so I could make risks. I could take some chances on myself that you may not be able to take based on your marital status or your relationship status. So again, that doesn't really take us off the topic. That just is another reminder of another important piece is, don't compare yourself to someone else. Focus on what you need. And that's what I'm talking about, that partnership needs us to be moving in accordance with our individual and collective needs. So, once you know your individual needs, now you see how that works out with your partner. So that's the why, and how sometimes we have to move on, take our baggage, take our lessons somewhere else. Well, that might be a hard thing for you to do, so let me tell you how to do it, okay? Move on. I'm going to read this whole thing, then give you some examples. Move on by taking a self-inventory of what you're good at and what you like about yourself. Now, that can sound like that's kind of really simple. Move on by taking a self-inventory of what you're good at and what you like about yourself. You see, knowing what we're good at and what we like about ourselves is important, because as we understand those qualities as gifts, the things we like about ourselves and that we're good at, those are qualities that are gifts that help us see what we have to share, and thus help us find other gifts to share. Knowing what you like about yourself and what you're good at is a quality, but it's a gift. And once you know what you like about yourself and you understand what you have to share, you find other qualities, because every quality connects to another one. So, and once you find your qualities that you have to share, guess what you get to do? You get to share them with other people. And once you get other people, you get new messengers. And once you get new messengers, you get new partnerships. And new partnerships equal different relationships. And different relationships equal different friends. And different friends make for new experiences. Okay? See, it's all going to keep coming back together. I have a CD of my ugly speech, how to be ugly. And if you're not familiar with that, ugly, U-G-L-Y, that was my base acronym, unique, gifted, lovable, you. And but that CD comes with a booklet that helps you focus on staying positive. Of course, when you recognize that UGLY is the base of my reputation for displaying the power of words through changing negatives into positives. And one of the exercises in that booklet is listing what you think your gifts are and how you can share them. And before I go on and finish that, I'm just going to use Lorenzo's comment, and then I'm going to let the tape play out. But I want to add this. It's exciting to see this. In my life, I have encountered an eclectic array of people who have made an impression on me. All of us actually can say that. We have met a lot of people. I don't categorize, because this is not a good thing to do. Again, it's judgment. We say it, but it's very hard to do. But we got to, if we can say it enough, we get better at not doing it. However, there are those people you meet are like an indelible tattoo on your brain that make you smile. And I take that also as a compliment. But anyway, but that's what it is. Sometimes, guess what? You don't get to give a compliment. And that's why we say it's so important to be in the moment and enjoy the gifts that you have. So thank you for that, Lorenzo. I'm going to let it play through the end of the tape now. And before I make any more comments, I'll just click some up there if I think they go well with what's being said. What you think your gifts are and how you can share them. You don't need the book to do that, but I'm telling you that it's in the book if you want to have something that you can look at and a place to lift it. But just, do it every day. List one thing that you're good at and one thing, how you can share it. And actually, I went ahead of myself. One thing you're good at and one thing you like about yourself, and then also one thing you're good at and how you can share it. Because as you do that, you start to become more of an expert on yourself. And as we become experts about ourselves, that's how we move forward in all the relationships. And again, we can claim the lessons, because we do want to claim the lessons. So what my closing point is a long one, but it's wonderful. I talked to my friend Renee Green yesterday, and she just moved. And so she called me because she laughed, because she just moved to a new house, and she had sent a post out about how tough it was, the unpacking process being such a challenge and tedious and she wasn't looking forward to it. But she wasn't bitching and moaning about it. She was just talking about it, because she's got one of them lively spirits. But she's happy to be in a new place. We said, okay, but now here I go. I got to do all the unpacking. So I introduced her to a term that I call ceremonial unpacking. Ceremonial unpacking. When you've relocated or moved into a new space, It's easy to define that as taking your time and reminiscing with each item you unpack to save. As you do that, you'll also be considering where it used to be displayed in the old place and how you want to display it now. Which room, which wall, which cabinet, which shelf, which spiritual need do you have for that piece now, so that when you unpack it, where you'll put it. The things on my walls now were on different spots when I was in my last place. You know, because as they come in, where you get to put them is dependent on what has been experienced in your life already. So now as you unpack them, you can reorder, put your life in a different order. And that's what life is about, y'all. Constantly recognizing the beauty and the gift to rearrange your life and the people in it. So the relationships and partners in our lives are the same. As we move into the next phases of our spiritual walk, which I call life is a spiritual walk, we have to do some rearranging and some reprioritizing. As we do that, when we instruct ourselves to do so in a positive mindset, we keep ourselves open for more blessings. As the of people we want to attract into our lives and help us grow, sometimes that growth will be in reacquainting ourselves with someone who we'd outgrown or someone who had outgrown us. So again, if we go back to that why about moving forward and the people that we had to outgrow to move forward, we may bring those people back in as we reacquaint ourselves with our personal needs, because sometimes we just need to be apart from somebody. You ever say, I just need my space today? Because there's no particular time that you need, and it's up to you. Maybe you just need an hour away from someone. Maybe you need a day, a week, so that you can just do what? Get yourself together and get yourself reframed for being the best person that person has in their lives. It's always about finding a positive way to keep that thing together. So recognize that we are each an important piece of the puzzle. We're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle. And life is about going from one puzzle to the next. Whichever size piece of the puzzle you see yourself as, without you, that puzzle is called incomplete. So make sure that you claim your piece of the puzzle, small, medium, or large, and enjoy bringing the lessons that you bring into one another's lives, your partnerships, your friendships, your relationships, the messengers. Enjoy bringing that lesson in, because it's not baggage. And if you want to call it baggage, make it good bags, because we pack a good bag sometimes. Don't we select our luggage very carefully to go with our style and our favorite color? Okay, and then we pack it carefully according to how we're going to use the stuff in it. Start being creative and look for the ways that you can use analogies to turn your negatives into positives, because the challenge is staying positive. And so the more things you turn negative into positive, you get better at staying positive. I'll have this posted on YouTube, hopefully within the hour, but please take the time to check it out. Enjoy the message. Look at my site, sportyking.com. Support me there. I would appreciate it. And so that's not, yeah. So that really brings that broadcast to an end. But I just wanted to say thank y'all all, and it hasn't just been cool. And like you said, Lorenzo, yeah, enjoying the look back, because it's like the movie Sankofa. I don't know if you're familiar, but the Sankofa bird in Africa is a bird that it says to look back to see where you came from, so you can know why you gotten where you are and where you're going to be, where you're going. So I just want to do some shout outs and say good to see my brother Mike from Chicago. Man, long time. I was his instructor in a wonderful program called the Hospitality Academy, where he was, remember I said to you, everybody that you have flex time. Well, he was in the hospitality industry. And so, so that again, just another example. And I appreciate that. I see you, bro. And I've always seen you, because we go back to way back then. Okay. But reacquainted growth. I think that Lorenzo, probably you did that when I put, ceremonial unpacking, reacquainted growth. I like that. Another good one. A great message today. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you all. And the message is only as good as the message. The messenger is only as good as the message received. And so recognize that You don't always have to have a great message, but you do have to deliver your message. God sends you to deliver the message, and as the messenger, you're not responsible for the outcome, and you're responsible for the delivery. And that is why I think that I make such a good messenger, because I'm committed to the delivery. I'm not worried about, I don't think they like what I'm going to say. Let me check. No, this is what I have been sent to say. I have to say the message, because it's just like the altar call after church, right? They say, is there one? Who was that message for? Don't want it to be religious. What about sometimes when someone says something, you say, you know what? You talking to me. I needed to hear that. That's why you have to be the messenger. And you got to go back to that introspective thing that Lorenzo talked about. You got to be you. I don't have to be right. I have to be sporty. I have to make sure that I'm delivering who I am, because my message might not be good for you today. As Geraldine, my homegirl, grew up together, say good message today. And what Bruce was just saying, my message might not be for you today, but you might need it next week. You might need it next month. Don't worry about and there's that parenting thing. I want to say to you parents again, bless you for how you've had the patience. You can't always help the child in the moment. And just like you can't help the person in the moment, sometimes they don't need your message today. So don't get down on your message. Let it build up and recognize that it's going to be for somebody. That's that puzzle analogy that I gave you. Don't be, now you got to give me a word I can't pronounce. Twist. Having great power or influence, be present in growth and love. I'll be upgrading my vocabulary on the fly. Twist, but it's a French-looking word. Puissant, it looks like, but it's probably pronounced twist. And it's having great power or influence. All of us have that. We do it, but we just have to have the confidence in ourselves to know that someone needs us to be who we are, because that's really where the power comes in your message. Like they say, I can't hear you because your actions speak so loud. Okay, so yeah, be careful and conscious of controlling your vocabulary rather than allowing your vocabulary to control you. You do a great job of messaging. That's why I show up to Glue. Thank you, Lorenzo. And see, give people their flowers while they're here. And you know what, Lorenzo, that's why I stay connected with you. Not because you show up for my message, that I come to yours as well. It's certain people who may show up that I wouldn't even bother contacting with them. Hey, come on. I keep it real. There's certain spirits there. You know what? You have a negative spirit and you need to listen to my lesson. I'm not going to bother showing, constantly, oh, so glad you're here. I don't do that because I don't know why, and it's tough. That's a whole nother message. But, it's tough giving people their flowers, because sometimes people are just using you. So you have to show the consistency. That's, are we really having a relationship, or are you just showing up this one time? So, well, I was there, and now, and then you let your guard down, because haven't you done that? Someone who may have wronged you or whatever, and then they apologize, and you say, oh, okay, all is well. And then you open yourself up, and then they do it again. It's not easy. It's a tough decision, but it's a decision that you have to make. So I'm not necessarily bowled over by everyone who shows up and tells me that they like me or whatever, whether it's my message or my life, because I like me. I like me. I like my message because I understand that God has sent me to use it and to make sure I do it. And I have to protect it, because if I don't protect my message, it's gonna have a domino effect, and it's gonna hurt somebody who I know needs my message. And I can't let them people down. And those my nieces and nephews, my friends. It's just, again, that's a whole nother broadcast. So I'm not going to do it. I'm just, oh, good. That's a good way to close. Staying positive is the challenge. Anybody can be positive in the moment, but can you stay positive when tough stuff is going on around you? Look, thanks so much for joining me on Glue Wednesday and having a wonderful flashback. I want to tell you a message that came to me today that I'm going to work on for next week. And it's called, whose side are you on? Just in case I don't do it, but I think I will. Whose side are you on? And I got it from my Bible reading this morning, where it talks about when God said to Abraham, you're going to be the descendant, and your descendants will be like the more than the sands in the sea, on the beach. You know what? It never dawned on me. He said that the chosen people were going to go through Isaac. Guess what? Abraham had two sons. He also had Ishmael through his servant wife. God didn't say that's who the family tree was going to go through. And so it's like, oh my God, I didn't even catch that till I read a note in my Bible today. And so I'm going to see if I can develop that message, but I call it, whose side are you on? We're all related, but it's what you decide to do with it can make a difference. So when you allow people to treat you as a commodity, you're never human. That's true. Yeah, people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So thank y'all again. And it's just in case I don't come up with that message, at least I put it in the air. But I think putting it in the air is going to help me put it together. So God bless you. Keep the glue going. And remember, you don't have to hump to get over. What you have to do is keep finding ways to keep it together. And that's what we do on Glue Wednesday, because glue is GLUE. It's God's love undoes everything. And you want to make sure it undoes the things that in your life. Okay. And no, thank you. Amen. All right. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm gonna do a 10-second countdown because there's a little delay in the technology in case when somebody else want to click something in, and then I'll click it off. So 10, 9. And by the way, I was cool. I was in StreamYard and on Facebook at the same time, so I could put the comments in there. I tell you, technology is hilarious. I'm working on a new one. I hope I get that through us soon. But 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Peace.